Namaste, Sudha Ragunathan here. Hello to all of you. Once again, it's sheer happiness to be with all of you on Expressions Espresso Season 2. We are now on episode 16. I'm sure all of us are still reliving those lovely moments with Abby and his charming music, and going through all your comments both on the Facebook and YouTube has further motivated us. I'm truly overwhelmed with your responses and your warm appreciation. It's a huge thought process and a team that works on inviting our personalities, our guests, thinking of the appropriate questions we need to put across to them, and figuring out the flavor of the bouquet of ragas that I welcome them with. Simply because each guest is so special, how else can I thank them for so immediately consenting to be on EE, making it an altogether delightful, memorable experience for all of us. What can I say of this week's very, very, very charming guest? I'm sure all of you know so much about her that what I'm going to say is a reiteration of all of that. A brilliant choreographer with some of the finest productions of shows in Indian classical dance that the classical dance scenario has ever seen. An intense guru, a profound thinker who consistently works on refining and elevating her art form. There was a time when I visited a sabha and was present for her recital, for her show. It was pitch dark. The lights came on, and when she started to perform, I did not see her anymore. I only saw the Lord. Krishnani Begani Baro. Then Vishweshji sang that, and she performed to those different sangatis and Anupallavi and Charanams. Taige Bayalli. எவ்வளவு சஞ்சாரம், எவ்வளவு அபிநயம். The hall was almost in a state of multiple emotions. That was the feeling that she left me with the very first time when I saw her. The other side of this beautiful lady, she loves to travel to as many countries as possible, doing a thorough study of places prior to her visit, the historical aspects of every country allure her, and she's happy visiting museums, collecting artifacts, and her lovely home, I think, stands testimony to this love of hers. She's very passionate about crafting saris and jewelry, and is a brilliant costume designer for all her productions. An avid reader I feel she never separates her art and passion from her everyday life. They synchronize. She lives each day artistically to its fullest in the literal sense. Isn't that something to stand up, to rise and welcome this one of a kind personality? It is my honor to welcome Padma Shri awardee, Natyakala Acharya Smt Chitra Visweswaran Akka. Namaste, Akka.
Namaskaram, Sudha.
What
it's
a pleasure.
So good to be here. You said it. What a pleasure.
I can't even say anything now that I'm looking at you. I've come a complete round, I feel. Started looking at you when I was a teenager, and now sitting here to have a casual chat.
I have also seen you as a teenager, the first time I saw you, because there is a big bond, which many people may not know, between you and me, because my husband's mama was GNB, the great GN Balasubramaniam, your grand guru. And your guru, MLV Mami, was very close to my mother's family. And so there you are, daughter of our extended family.
Wow! How else can you welcome me? I mean, leave aside me welcoming you. I have a small little kavide for you. Tamil.
சொல்லுங்க.
அதாவது ஒரு மணி நேரம் முன்னாடி தோணித்து உங்களை எல்லாரையுமே நான் ராகம் பாடி இல்ல அவளுக்கு பிடிச்ச கீர்த்தனையை பாடி வெல்கம் பண்ணுவேன். உங்களுக்கு எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சு you love everything. Yes. You love everything that is sung on a particular day. So how do I welcome you? சரி, இப்படி பண்ணலாம். சித்திர தாமரை வாடாது, சித்திரா நடனம் சொல்லி மாளாது, நாற்புறம் சுழலும் கண்கள், நாற்கவி பொழியும் அமுத திங்கள், சாகரத்து லஹரி முத்தமிடும் லாவக லஹரி, தயார் நிலை சலங்கை கூட தவம் செய்யும் பதத்தாள், தில்லையானே சொக்கி நிற்கும் பரத சிவகாமி, தஜம் தஜம் சலங்கை ஒலி, பதஞ்சலி அதிசயித்த நாட்டிய ஒலி. சித்திரத்தாமரை வாடாது, சித்திரா நடனம் சொல்லி மாளாது, நாற்புறம் சுழலும் கண்கள், நாற்கவி பொழியும் அமுதத் திங்கள், சாகரத்து லஹரி முத்தமிடும் லாவக லஹரி, தில்லையானே சொக்கி நிற்கும் பரத சிவகாமி, தஜம் தத்தஜம் தஜம் தத்தஜம் சலங்கை ஒலி, பதஞ்சலி அதிசயித்த நாட்டிய ஒலி. Pranams at your feet, Akka.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful welcome. Very unique. Nobody has welcomed me this way. And it is indeed unique.
You are
Very
so
special. Very
special,
special.
Akka, really. And the way you said those words touched me so much that I had to sing Shubha Pantorali.
I know. I love it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
There is something so cosmic to it, and it. I felt the cosmic dancer dancing when you called out to him.
Thank you, Akka. Now I have to really move to questions, specific questions, though I would love to just, be in loose conversation with you.
Mm.
But I'm sure the audience is waiting to know everything about you. So I'll quickly run through your initial years. You actually took your first dancing steps at the age of 3 with your mother holding your little fingers, Srimati Rukmini Padmanabhan, herself a dancer trained by Uday Shankarji. I really think that our mothers are the only ones who give such strong foundation and vision. It was the same with my mother Chudamani. So I see that similarity. Ningen and Enekrel of those early years, I'm sure they still hold a very special place in your heart and mind.
Absolutely, because my strength for my dance, the artistic strength, has been given to me by my mother, and she was the one who started me off on my first steps. Yes, she also used to learn Abhinaya from Chinaya Naidu when they used to come down from Delhi to Chennai, to those days Madras. She started teaching me because we were in London and she didn't want me to forget our culture and the richness of our heritage. Uh, then she took me to Ram Gopal, and Ram Gopal said I was too young to learn, and he taught her instead. So uh, she then put me into Western ballet classes because whatever it is, Natyam, dance, whatever you call it, it's movement of the body. It's finally the body becoming one with the cosmic. And she said, let her learn this. Ballet has also got its beauty. So that is how I began at 3. And this was followed till we were in London. My father was posted there with the High Commission. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And you also learnt Manipuri and Kathak before you really moved to come under the tutelage of Srimati T.A. Rajalakshmi and had your Arangetram. I can't believe this. At the age of 11, in just within 10 months of your training from her. Is that right? All this
Yes,
I
true.
just picked it up from your Wikipedia or your details that are available on social
Uh,
media.
Mm. Yes, my father was transferred back to Calcutta, those days Calcutta, and I first started learning Manipuri and Kathak. Later, I learned contemporary dance too. But then my mother found out that there was this great Devadasi who was known for her dance, who was settled, who was brought there by the Tagore family, courtesy Ariyapudi Ramanuja. And she took me to her, and then my Bharatanatyam lessons with her started. And when you say this 10 months to my Arangetram, it wasn't like these days of 2 classes a week or 3 classes a week. Daily classes, sometimes morning and evening. And it wasn't that my parents asked for an Arangetram, but my guru herself, my Acharya, my Natya Guru, she herself called my parents and said, I think she's ready for an Arangetram.
Hmm.
But my father was apprehensive because, the காலத்துலலாம் in a get together, family get together, everybody would ask me to dance. And I would be ready, but when I saw everyone, I'd chicken out. I would be told, I'd get nervous, and I would refuse to dance in front of anybody. And in fact, when I used to dance, when teacher used to come home, I used to shut all the doors and the windows and even put a key in the keyhole.
Oh my.
And only my mother was allowed to watch me dance. Nobody else. So அப்பா சொன்னார், இந்த பொண்ணு இப்படி பண்ணுறதே, suppose I invite everybody and do everything and she refuses to dance. Then my mother and teacher சொன்னா, no, she won't let us down. She will dance once she gets on stage.
இல்ல யூசுவலா வந்து இளங்கன்று பயம் அறியாது அப்படின்பா. இந்த இளங்கன்று வந்து எப்படி எல்லா கதவெல்லாம் மூடிட்டு ஆடித்துன்னு எனக்கு தெரியல.
எனக்கு வந்து அப்போவும் அந்த பயம் உண்டு, இப்போவும் அந்த பயம் உண்டு. எப்பவுமே வயர் கலங்கா. அதாவது இந்த பயம் உண்டுன்னு சொல்ல முடியாது. Because we know so little finally. It's the little done, the undone vast. இன்னும் தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்கு எவ்வளவோ இருக்கு. நம்ம சாதிச்சது ஒண்ணுமே இல்லை. ஸோ அதை தெரிய அந்த பயபக்தி ஜாஸ்தி வளரும். யூ பிகம் you realize the art is greater than you. It's the experience of knowing that. So even before I came on to this session with you today, all my prayers, especially to my guru, my Anmiga guru, my spiritual guru, Mataji, Pithamma, that I do not let her down or my Natyacharyas down.
What a message for the younger generation and for all of us, Akka. The fact that you spoke about this anxiety that you feel before every program. All of us do feel it. But, when you say it, we wonder, இப்ப கூடவா, இன்னைக்கு கூடவா, அதுன்னு ஆச்சரியமா இருக்கு. Because நீங்க வந்து நிறைய விஷயங்களை தாண்டி வந்திருக்கீங்க, நிறைய challenges, நிறைய milestones. அப்படி பாக்குறச்சு உங்களுக்கு என்னத்துக்கு பயம் இருக்கணும் அப்படின்னு தான் ஒருத்தருக்கு தோணும். இப்ப நீங்க அதை சொல்றச்சே, it kind of gives a message to all of us that you should be a little anxious for the quality that we need to bring into our presentations. There's another similarity between us, Akka, besides this Amma personality, the Government of India scholarship.
Yes.
That brought you to Sri Varuvur Ramaya Pillai.
Yes.
It brought me to my guru, MLV Amma.
Yes.
So how did you find this transition from Rajalakshmi Amma to the Varuvur style?
That's very important because she taught me, she belonged to Tiruvadai Mardur. She was Kuppaya Pillai's Shishya, Prathama Shishya. And what style is known for is aritham, its clarity of footwork. And it is also known for the Abhinaya. Especially Rajalakshmi teacher, she was known as Rajappa during her youth. And much later, I used to hear stories about her wonderful Abhinaya. Because when I was in Calcutta, between the ages, and it was not, there wasn't connect those ways. Now social media is there, so the whole world is one. But there was no connect. And I didn't know of a greatness till I came down south. But I made up my mind that I must learn from this great Varuvur Ramaya Pillai after I saw his prime disciple, Srimati Kamala Lakshman, perform. And I remember standing in the wings at Rasika Ranjana Sabha performance in Calcutta, gazing upon him with awe and admiration at this Kamala Akka, and thinking to myself, when I grow older, I must learn from the guru of this Akka. At that time, I didn't even know his name. I was 8 years old. And I think if you desire something enough, sincerely enough, God makes a way for it.
Yes, absolutely true.
So I came to him. I think it was in 1970, I got this scholarship. And my father was transferred to Lucknow, but the family sort of partially relocated, in the sense my mother brought me down to Chennai, and we stayed here. And I have a differently abled brother, Arun. So he was also with us, and it was for his treatment also. So we stayed in Chennai. Father was in Lucknow, and I used to have wonderful classes with the great Varura. We used to call him Vadyarappa.
Inappa?
Vadyarappa.
Valia.
Vadyarappa. Uh,
Um, so because you were in Calcutta, this Rabindra Nritya and Rabindra Sangeet, I'm sure you imbibed a bit of those flavors. Do they still influence you in your productions, Akka?
uh, they inspire me. You see, influence is a dangerous word, but
Right.
inspiration is I think it's a word which is definitely something that we all seek. It's inspiration is something. I also learned Rabindra Sangeet, not just Rabindra Nritya. And you wouldn't believe it, but who was my Carnatic music teacher in Kolkata? It was Calcutta Krishnamurti.
Wow.
It says,
Yes.
"Avartana."
Yes.
Yes, Angakatade. After I came here, I learned from Trivandrum RS Mani and then from my husband. So that's how it was. And yes, I find that the beauty of Rabindra Nritya and Rabindra Sangeet and Tagore's poetry is to see beyond the immediate into the cosmic. And that is something the spirit has influenced me, not influenced, I'm sorry, inspired me greatly. Yes, yes.
I think influence and inspire are very, very, the distance between the two words is very tiny.
It's a thin line.
Very thin line, yes.
Yes.
You were one of the pioneers in infusing a different dimension to your productions where lighting and stagecraft, you gave so much importance to both of them. So,
Uh,
why did you feel this was necessary?
Yes, this was the inspiration from Ravindra Nritya. I used to see that the actual dance. If you looked in terms of tala, laya, raga, etc., was there was not very intricate because Tagore created it so that everybody could, as a community, sing together. So that was the purpose of it, and his poetry was so beautiful. It was always it was uh, wedded to nature, and I used to see the way lighting was done in a production in Kolkata, and I was very lucky that I came under the influence of the great Taposh Sen himself, who was at his peak at that time in lighting. And without taking away from the dance, I saw how much we could use it, adapt it to suit our genre. Because it shouldn't be, sometimes I see a production nowadays, and I don't know whether it's the light is the hero or the heroine, or the dancer is depicting the hero or the heroine. Everything, you see, it's like in the Natya Shastra we have this entire chapter on aharya, which is sometimes mistaken as of just costume and jewelry, but it is the entire setting. Now, for instance, you have a diamond. If the setting is beautiful and you put it against blue velvet, then it shows very beautifully. But Adi, when you put it against cream velvet, if it's gold, put it against blue velvet. Cholwala. Adi Mari a diamond. Navaratnas again beautiful against cream velvet, or emeralds or rubies. They Mari the entire presentation is everything should add to the dance, not overcome it. So I have been inspired a lot, and I think one of the things is that in those days we didn't have intricate, we didn't have powers, we didn't have intelligent lights, we didn't have, specials. We didn't have any of that. In fact, with the little bit that we had in our college dance dramas, you see, every year we had to do dance drama of Rabindranath Tagore. And this was done on 3 days. First day for the Tagore family, second day for the parents, and the third day for the public. And we had such uh, very few facilities. And with this, I used to say, see how magic was created. And we'd also become part of it. Suddenly, for scenes, we would be putting on the lights off and on at the back. Yeah, on, off, and it to create such beauty without distracting. That again is very important. If the distraction comes in, then it takes away from the dance. So, and again, another thing that inspired me greatly was, they didn't use temple jewelry or, ornate jewelry or anything. With very little, they make it look so beautiful. Bengal is known for its artistry, and I think having grown up there has been, I think, very much added to my growth and evolution.
Now you can use the word influence.
Yes.
நீங்க பேசிட்டே நீங்க அப்படியே அந்த கண்ணு சுழல்றதும் அந்த கையோட போக்கும் அதுவே ஒரு தனி நாட்டியமா எனக்கு தெரியுது. நிஜமாவே உங்களை அறியாத நீங்க செய்யறே, ஆனா அது வந்து எனக்கு ஒரு நாட்டியமா தெரியுது. You were way ahead of your times, Akka, when you staged some of your finest productions. You believed in Auchityam.
Yes.
Well before the ICCR happened, you had already toured so many countries. Your work stood out because initially your mother and later you would explain each piece with gestures.
Right.
Did you bring in this aspect into the dance form, the stage, or did you adapt it or adopt it from someone?
It was not adopted because we were in Kolkata. There was a necessity to explain the pieces. Now Bharatanatyam is more prevalent, but in those times it was a rarity. So my mother used to explain and I used to show the gestures. And whenever after that we came to Chennai, Amma would be with me, and I still remember we did not think it was necessary to do gestures to Chennai audience, but definitely it at that time. Now people know very much more, and in order for it to spread, I started coming on stage and speaking about the piece. So I was perhaps the first one to do it. It was way back in 1970. I started this even earlier in Kolkata. And on all my tours abroad, I have been asked to do it because at that time I traveled more as a soloist and less as a production, because I had not stepped into I didn't have students at that time who would make a professional company. But at that time, solos were very much in demand. And I traveled as a soloist. And even in that, I used to use lighting to enhance it. For instance, it's beautiful when you see, you just explained at the beginning, it was dark and the lights came on. You know, that feeling of mystery that is there when lights are used appropriately. Again, auchityam of lighting. So I used to do this on every trip abroad, and because we had to see only so many people could travel, you have to look at the viability. Amma in the beginning came with me. She used to come. Later on, she passed on, and then it was just us going. But even from the very earliest performances, I used to use this presentation.
It's a helpful way to communicate to an audience which is not aware of Sanskritam or Telugu or Padam, Javali. Varnams are so long that one would like to know what is happening, Ilya. Not just by your Abhinaya or Madavu or Jati, they're going to understand everything. But they can comprehend better when you explain a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think Auchityam Enana, how do you explain to each different type of audience? You don't say the same thing that you say in Paris, in Chennai. You don't, sometimes the explanations in Chennai become very uh, redundant nowadays. They become little kavites in themselves. Fine. But I think code தான் காமிக்கணும். Code காமிச்சா போறோம். And it's just, you see, everybody who sits there who's watching dance is not basically an expert. And to tell them, sari, number in the sanchari pandrona, if you take, for instance, Vishnu's padam, it could relate to Rama's padam that awakened Shabari, or they could relate to Krishna's padam that danced on Kaliya. So you just give a hint about what is going to come, they can relate. Because I basically don't think everybody who comes to a performance of either music or dance wants to have an examination paper thrust under their noses. They come because it elevates you to a different level. It gives you a feeling of joy, of ananda, of finally bliss at its best. So just a little help.
Akka, with your permission, I'm going to maybe announce some names that are coming in. Okay, I'll wait for a few more to come in. You have raised the bar in dance to a point that its visual experience is optimized by thinking out of the box and bringing in strong elements to your productions: characterization, customized lighting, backdrops, your costume. I think you were a complete trendsetter of sorts. This experience எப்படி, அதாவது நீங்களாவே வந்து அதை அனுபவிச்சு அது உங்களுக்கு வந்ததா, இல்ல நீங்க வந்து அதை நோக்கி போனீங்களா?
It's sort of a difficult question because I think the Noki Ponela is very important. Every artist should have that quest. We all seek. I mean, I don't think I have particularly raised the bar in any way. Each artist has contributed in their own way. If their name lives, it's because there has been a great contribution. How each one has contributed is it our contribution, or is it something that has always been there and we have been awakened to it and made it part of ourselves? Because costumes, you're talking about costumes. People used to talk about my color combinations. They used to say, when you danced in Music Academy that year, you wore this combination. When you danced at Krishnagana Sabha, you wore this combination. Somebody told me the other day, when you dance at South Bank, you wore this combination. Now, the point is, that combination is not mine. Just look out of the window at nature. All the combinations are there. It's just for you to pick the flowers and put it together.
You're being very humble. You have to choose the right flowers.
Yes, you have to. You have to develop a sense of aesthetics. And I had very aesthetic parents. Both parents were very aesthetic. Though my father was an engineer, he was also known for his aesthetics. My mother was known for her aesthetics. But I think as far as dance, Natyam was concerned, it was Varurar who opened my eye to aesthetics. Because till then, with Rajappa teacher, I learned it was a grammar, and she was wonderful in her abhinaya. She would, of course, Telugu padathuko varnathukko arthamlam solli kodukka maata, because I think we were too young to be even able to understand it or appreciate it. So it was sort of like solli kodpa, romba alaga solli kodupar, and she used to tell me, I'm not greatly creative. எனக்கு நானாக கிரியேட் பண்ணி சொல்லி கொடுக்க தெரியாது. ஆனால் நான் கத்துண்டத அப்படியே I will teach you. அப்போ when you're young, you don't understand the value of these things. அதனால்தான் அஸ்திவாரம் அவ்வளவு ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்தது. இந்த அஸ்திவாரம் அப்படி இருந்தாதான் பில்டிங் ஆடாது. அப்புறம் நம்ம என்ன கட்டினாலும், கோவில் கட்டினாலும், மெஹல் கட்டினாலும், மசூதி கட்டினாலும், எதை கட்டினாலும், நம்ம சர்ச்சை கட்டினாலும், எதை கட்டினாலும், ஒரு பெரிய அரண்மனை கட்டினாலும் அஸ்திவாரம் ஷேக் பண்ணிட்டுனா இடிஞ்சு விழுந்துடும். அஸ்திவாரத்தை ரொம்ப நல்லா போட்டுட்டா. பட் வழுவரார், it's very different the way he taught. It was never about angles. It was never about இப்படி கையை வச்சிருக்கணும், அப்படி உட்காரணும், you must sit so much aramandi, so many inches. No, lot of the classes were be sitting from 8 o'clock in the class. My mother and I used to be sitting there together, because those days they wouldn't send a girl alone to a class, dance class. So she used to accompany me, and he'd talk about their ancestry. You see, their Vamsam has taught the Chola princess. So adu mari oru Vamsam. So he used to teach me something. He used to talk about history. So that cultural, the curiosity for culture was really, it was nurtured. And then he would say, Janna velila paru. Now what happens normally, you sit in a class, you tell the child, don't stare out of the window. Jannalku velila yen paathuட்டு இருக்க. Pay attention to the class. Look at the board, which is sometimes very boring. So what he would mean, how many, he would mean something, how many, it's for us to take it and to make it your own. Because when I kept looking out of the window, I looked at the beauty of nature, I looked at the colors, I looked at the movement, and I realized if you emulated breeze with your hastas, then should not the character of breeze be reflected? What happens when the breeze blows? So it's only when you remove those stoppers, you remove those stoppers in your eyes, and you remove with the kudurai mariye, you remove all those blinkers and stoppers. And Carlyle talked about the hearing ear and the seeing eye. So you need to be open. You need to be ready to accept any fresh breath of air that flows through. And he was a person who really, I would say, awakened me to interpretation of aesthetics in dance. Otherwise, it would have been bend for this, bend for that, leap for this, sit for that. It became part of my being. And this added to my background. It was, for me, it has been a beautiful experience.
You just echoed what MLV Amma always used to tell me. Keep your ears open, she would say. எது நல்லா இருந்தாலும் appreciate பண்ணு. இந்த ஸ்கூலோட பாட்டு மட்டும்தான், இந்த ஸ்கூலோட ராக மட்டும்தான் கேட்கணும்னு வச்சுக்காத. எங்க நல்லது கேட்டாலும் எதிரொலிச்சாலும் அந்த ஒளிய வாங்கோ அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க.
Very true, very true.
So now here are the names, Akka. Vasanthi Venkatraman, Jaya Subramaniam, Janaki Ramakrishnan, Malavika Avinash, Parvati Ravi Gantashala, Ananda Shankar Jayant, Tara Rao, Mandapaka Ravi, Shanta Raghunath, Sudha Raguraman, Uma Satyanarayan, Nandini Ganeshan, Padma Ramamurthy, Anusuya Ghosh Banerjee, Savitri Rao, Sita Ratnakar. எவ்வளவு பேர் எல்லாருமே நாட்டியம் ஆடுறவாளும் இருக்கா, சங்கீதம் பாடுறவாளும் இருக்கா.
It's so wonderful to have everybody. Namaskaram to everybody.
So Saundarya Anand wants to ask you, what would you describe as the toughest part of learning Natya? நம்ம ஒரு டான்ஸரா இருந்தோன்னு அதுல எது கஷ்டமான விஷயம்? நிருத்தாவா, அபிநயாவா, இல்ல அடவா, இல்ல வர்ணமா? ஐ மீன் அப்படின்னு கேக்குறான்னு நான் நம்புறேன்.
எது நன்னா பண்ணணும்னாலும் கஷ்டம்தான். That is my answer. It doesn't matter whether it's Nritya or Abhinaya or a Varnam or ஒரு அல்லாரிப்புவன் என்ன பண்ணோம்னாலும் அது கஷ்டம்தான் ஒழுங்கா பண்ணனா. The most difficult thing is communicating, not just the literal meaning of what you are doing, but communicating the spirit in which the poet has meant it, in which are the great creators of our dance forms have meant it. See, that is creating the rasa, creating that, making the audience sit at the edge of the chair is in any art form, be it even painting, sculpture, whatever. I think that is the most difficult, that is the most fulfilling, that is the sadhana that we go through.
I'm going to ask you a slightly emotional question. Your husband, Sri Visweswaran Anna, composed music for most of your productions. And the combination, பாட்டு நாட்டியமும் யாராலையும் எங்களால மறக்க முடியாது, பார்த்தவா எல்லாரும். How is it working together? எப்போதுமே நம்ம வந்து வீட்டுல வந்து அப்படி அமையாது எப்போதுமே. இப்போ எடுத்துக்கோங்களேன், ரகுநாதன் வந்து he listens to music, he watches நாட்டியா. But I don't discuss இந்த கேதார கவுளல இந்த சங்கதி உண்டா, இந்த பிடி உண்டா, இது வந்து பைரவி மாதிரி இருக்கா, இந்த பிடி வந்து முக்காரி மாதிரி இருக்கா, அப்படிலாம் அவர்கிட்ட கேட்க முடியாது. பட் உங்களுக்கு வந்து வீட்லயே அது அமைஞ்சது, environmentally.
It was, I would even say, his music and his sangeetam and my natyam evolved together, because see, he was also a person ahead of his times. If you ask me, the spirit of GNB was in him, though he did not take to music very early in his life, in the sense of taking it up as a career. It was only after he decided to ditch chartered accountancy, because he felt jealous of the way I was so happy in Natyam. But he decided, அது என்ன நீ மாத்திரம் இவ்வளவு சந்தோஷமா இருக்க, நான் இந்த அக்கௌண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் தூக்கி போட போறேன், and I'm going to get into music. In fact, he used to hate accounts so much that afterwards I used to have to get his papers together. And people used to tell me, oh, you're so lucky, your husband must be doing all your accounts. Oh, no way. He said, I've missed out so many years of music. I'm not going to waste any more time. Yes, but it was a very, see, in the beginning, he was like your husband, Raghu. He used to appreciate, he used to enjoy music, he used to enjoy dance, and he used to play, as you know him personally, he used to play Western classical guitar, the flamenco, self-taught flamenco guitarist. He used to play veena, he used to sing. Finally, the santoor. He gave everything to the santoor. So and he also, because he played for films, he was very close to MS Vishwanathan. And R.D. Burman used to fly him to Bombay to play for his music. So he had a very, I think the biggest thing was, it was not just Carnatic music that he knew, but he knew Hindustani music, he knew Western classical, licentiate from Trinity College London, and he knew film music. So all these four put together really helped in our shall I say, synergy, because I also came with all these influences of painting, writing, theater, lighting, different dance styles, and he had this background. What was so nice was that when we worked together, we were not husband and wife. We were two creative people working together, arguing together. In fact, I think some people may even have thought in those times, but it was, you understand what it is, two artists together. At the discussion and that argument, there is no fruit that is born. So it used to be great. And I used to be quite demanding, and he used to be quite sometimes give me a good run. You see, so, yes, it was a great experience.
Realize that.
Yes, and, yeah. So it began with his singing for my solo performances. No, sorry, in 1980, it began with him doing the entire music scape for my first group production, Devi Ashrasa Malika. And after that, uh, he had a health setback. He couldn't go back to recording. He had a cardiac arrest. It was massive. And so if I left him behind, now there are also people who would have said, why is she taking him all over the world when he has a health issue? I consulted the cardiologist. He said he has to be happy. Now that's very, very, very important. Now, as a musician, if you
Yes.
are removed from your music, it's the greatest sorrow in your life. So how do I reinvent ourselves? Now, like in COVID times, we have to reinvent ourselves. How do we
Right.
reinvent ourselves? And then, how do I make him follow a diet? He was such a foodie. He used to say, I would ask him, have you had breakfast? He would say, yeah, I finished breakfast on our travels. And I would ask, what did you eat? Oh, I just had a big bar of chocolate.
I,
Then you have to laugh. But so what I decided is, if he comes with me and he starts slowly singing for my dance, his thirst for music would be satisfied. And
yes.
then again, he also gets that acknowledgement of his artistry. Psychologically, it's important. And then wherever I went, first thing is I'd ask to see the kitchen. If it was, if it was Indian families or Sri Lankan families, there was never this issue. But
Yes.
when I traveled in Europe, where they didn't
Europe
even know what
especially.
yogurt was, I remember my flautist asking me in 1980, ஒன்னும் வேண்டாம்மா எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் சாதமும் தயிரும் போறோம் ஊறுகாய். Where do you get sadam and tayir and urgai in 1980? Uh, 1980, Europe, Paris. So I used to go into the kitchen and I used to cook for him, for my entire group of musicians. And they were always Indophiles at that time because we virtually backpacked all over Europe. And I've got performed in almost every even little towns of France. So, or Germany for that matter. So, and those days we had to do our own lighting. I was my own light man. I had to climb up the ladders. I used to go and adjust the lights. Because if you understand at that time that our faces needed to be lit. Talking
Right.
about 1980. So enna pannuva, they used to, if I used to send diagrams, and in which I was helped by my father to make the diagrams. I used to send this, and they would light the floor.
Uh,
And then I had to give specifications, and I used to have to tilt lights and things like that. So it was a great experience. And so he started singing for me for my solos. Then he got more and more into composing music for my groups, also for my solos, because I used to be always looking at pieces. See, because when you are an avid reader, you don't, at least my nature is not to read with a particular production in mind or a particular uh, composition in mind. No, I just read because I love to read. And I read and I read and I read. And I don't know at what time something sparks off. The Spurikardamba, Tamil, beautiful. It just a little bit of jolt Mari varum, and it's present jolt. And you think, oh, can I take this and make this uh, and work around this idea for a production? So then they would be poems, they would be prose, they would be text, but then they were not set compositions. So he would have to do the music. And sometimes the greatest inspiration for both of us would come at 2 a.m. Now, when you think of it, 3 மணிக்கு தான் பிரம்ம முகூர்த்தம். So அந்த டைத்துல நிறைய வேலை பண்ணியிருக்கோம்.
You spoke about composition, Ilya. Now, I think this question is going to be relevant because it's about a composition. Angayar Kanni Anandam Kondale was
Amma.
specifically composed by the great Lalgudi Jairamji for you.
Absolutely. I've been blessed. In fact, the first Varnam he specifically composed for me was the Shanmuga Priya, Devar Munivar. But
Yes.
Angayar Kanni was that was entirely to Venkatachalapati. And at that time, there was no Varnam in Shanmuga Priya, Padavarnam in Shanmuga Priya. So the request to him was Shanmuga Priya, and there was at that time nothing on Balaji. So request of Balaji way back, and then I'd always been greatly influenced by the Saundarya Lahari, and however many times I read it, there is a new dimension that comes to it. It's like reading any great spiritual work, you know. You're not greatly elevated spiritually. ஆனா வந்து ஒவ்வொரு தடவை ஒவ்வொரு இதுதான் கண்ணுக்கு படம் மனசை தொடும். So I was always, in fact, Devyashra Samalika was based on Saundarya Lahari. And Chammangudi Mama சொன்னார், ஏய் நீலாம் வந்து your women நீங்களாம் அந்த சௌந்தர்ய லஹரி எல்லாம் எடுத்து பண்ணலாமாட்டு, ஏன்னா அவளும் அந்த காலத்துல so இருந்தா. But then பய பக்தி was more than பயம். அதோட எடுத்து பண்ணினோன்னு it was a great success, and I wanted that particular concept of the Ashtarasas, which are a precursor to the Navarasa. I wanted that to be the central theme of Varnam, because எல்லா ரசங்களும் பண்ண முடியும். And we took a little liberties. We did it in the order. It was not in the, we learned it in a specific order. But பூர்வாங்கத்துல சஞ்சாரி பண்ணறதுக்கு we must have possibility. So அது மாதிரி ரசாஸ் எடுத்து உத்தராங்கத்துல ரசாஸ் which would take off even with 2 lines. அது மாதிரி we discussed it. He was, what you learn from these great people is, besides sitting at his feet and learning the Varnam directly from him, my husband and I, it was such a great experience, especially for my husband, and to me too, it awakened so many feelings. But just more than that, the transmission of music that happens, or the lyric that happens, the humility of the person, such a great person. That's what we need to learn from our gurus, the humility. They've achieved so much. They're somewhere over there, and look at their totally so easy to speak to, so easy to, there are no airs, nothing. அதாவது it's an empty vessel makes no noise. So they were நிறக்குடம். அப்படி நிறக்குடமா இருக்கச்ச பூர்ண கும்பம் வரவேற்பு for a குருனா, அந்த நிறக்குடம் இருக்கச்ச you get there is total, you understand what it is. So there are also qualities you learn from him. He also tuned extracts from the Valmiki Ramayana. I was given the concept of 7 in the ITC golden numbers festival, Swarna Sankhya festival, and in that I wanted Sapta Suladi Talatala, Sapta Kandam, Sapta Ragatala. I sat with my Sanskrit guru, with Acharya, with whom I every day just used to sit and read Sanskrit and Tamil. Free time every day in the morning, we used to spend about 2-3 hours just reading at random, and what I couldn't understand would ask for explanations, discussions. It was wonderful. And I edited very just there were just 4 to 6 lines in each kandam that I took and I edited, and he put it so beautifully to music. Really
அவர்
beautifully.
வந்து ராகம் வந்து போட்டதை நீங்க வந்து ஆடினீங்களா இல்ல நீங்க சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணலாம் இந்த காண்டத்துக்கு இந்த ராகம் வந்து நல்லா இருக்கும் இதுல போடுறேலாம் அப்படின்னு
இல்ல, அவர்கிட்ட நான் போய் சஜஸ்ட் பண்ண முடியுமா? இன்ஃபேக்ட்
அப்படி இல்ல அப்படி இல்லக்கா நாட்டியத்துக்கு வந்து சில காண்டத்துக்கு இந்த ஒரு அட்டானான்னு இவ்வளவு ஸ்கோப் தான் இருக்கு ஒரு தோடி ஸ்கோப் இருக்கு
இல்ல என்ன இன்ஃபேக்ட் ஈவன் வித் த நவரச மாளிகா வர்ணம் அதுலயும் வந்து he would suggest a ragam, and if I said சார் இது கொஞ்சம் இது வச்சுட்டா நல்லா இருக்குமா என்று சொன்னா அவர் வந்து if he felt it was good, he was very open. You see, again, that open mind, you also learn that from them. He would discuss, and it was really a wonderful experience of learning.
Joy in you now, even now you're holding it so close to your heart, those
yes.
So we're still acknowledging Akka, few more. Embar Kannan, Bharat Sundar, Chitra Sairam, Sukanya Ravinder. Preeti Chandrasekhan wants to know, does the artist's satisfaction arise from performing the art itself, or is also dependent on how much you get the rasika absorbed in it?
Yes, there has to be the raganuga, the bond between the Bhagavata and the Bhakta. The Mari, there has to be. You don't, if your art is not good enough, it doesn't awaken rasa. But if it is sensitive enough, it will awaken rasa. And definitely, about a response, it's like you're talking to each other. If I had a blank face or you had a blank face, I don't think it creates that bond. But then when you even dance to yourself, there's no need for an audience. Then also you can go on a high. It depends on the situation. You're in seventh heaven. ஆடினா போறோம். அது மாதிரி ஆடல் காணறோம். அந்த ஆடல் வந்து எதுக்கு காணறோம்? நமக்குள்ள அவர் ஆடுறாரே, நடராஜரோட ஆடல் காணறதுக்காக தானே. So, and finally through that ஆடல் you find peace. And so that's my answer. You can find it in dancing alone, you can find it in the experience.
As a curator, you have brought out the holistic approach to dance by inviting painters, sculptors, and special educators to speak and find the connect with dance. How did you even think of doing something on these lines?
You're talking about the Natyakala conference in 96-97, yes. Because to me, Natyam has been a window to a larger culture. And I myself have had so many streams flowing into me. And I've always felt Natyam is not an end to itself. There is much more to it. And you see, let's accept it. To be recognized as a performer, there is definitely an element of luck. If you have to be seen at the proper time, with the proper people, at the proper place. There are, as you say, as they would say about tabla players, gali gali, Banaras ke gali gali mein tabaliyan hai. There's so many wonderful artists in our country. There's so much craft, but not everybody has had that blessing of being seen at that proper time in their growth. So yes, what I felt is, what I must share is, your life doesn't come to an end if you don't make it as a soloist or as a performer, or due to some reason you're not able to perform as much as you want. You can perform, but it may not be like so many performances. Okay, but you can. But somehow so many performances don't come your way, just that many come your way. But there's so many other ways related to dance. The window that dance is giving you, using Natyam, Sangeetam, the special arts and the crafts, uh, as Ambika Kameshwar has done and created entire holistic theatre for arts, for shall we say, empowering people with different abilities. That is there. You can go into lighting. You can go into writing. There are so few people who can write a critique on dance today. Amongst the youngsters, only now a few are cropping up. But we need writers. We need people who can do lighting design. We need people who can design costume. There are so many. We need people who can design stage. And if you know dance, you do it that much better. So, I have never thought of Natyam as something separate in itself. It is part of a whole. It's been a very holistic experience to me. So I thought, why not awaken people to it? Nowadays, everybody is far more awakened, but what I feel is you need not go at it with hammer and tongs, because experience also I think rasane, or the cherishing it, or the flavor is in the chewing of the cud. So not to rush from one resource person to another resource person, but to become an urgai in an urgai jadi. அது ஊற ஊறதானே நல்லா இருக்கும். So ஊறலாம். ஊறி till it becomes your own. It should become organic, whatever it is, whether it is special education, whether it is lighting, whether it is decor, whether it is poetry, whatever it is. It has to become an organic part of you. And finally, the musician becomes the music, the dancer becomes the dance. I've seen it, seeing great artists on stage.
I really am reliving everything that you said with the times, I sang with my guru. The music, she really became the music. I never saw her at a point of time. ஒரு ஆர்டிபி நாட்டுக்குறிஞ்சில பாடுறச்சே எனக்கு அவ கண்ணு முன்னாடி தெரிய மாட்டா. அந்த நாட்டுக்குறிஞ்சி வந்து அப்படி ஒரு விஸ்வரூபம்.
எப்படி பாட வரத நாட்டுக்குறிஞ்சி, amazing.
இப்போ we come to this lovely part where all your sishyas love you. You are a supremely respected and loved guru. And I think
அடிக்கிற கை அணைக்கவும் செய்யும். அவங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சுட்டு ஏன்னா நான் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ரிக்டாவே இருப்பேன். And I'm strict for their good, but yes. I love them very much. They are my children. They are my family. And I'm very blessed also to have so many shishyas in Sri Muthukrishna Swami, Mishananda, Mataji, Vittama. And that way, when you have them, you can just step out of dancing very easily, because your soul dances with them.
Right. அந்த நீங்க கத்துண்ட காலத்துக்கும் இப்ப நீங்க கத்து கொடுக்கிற காலத்துக்கும் இனி வரக்கூடிய இந்த குரு சிஷ்யா பரம்பரா relationship, what kind of shape is it taking today with remote learning, Skype learning? What exactly about you?
Whatever it is, this it would have been much nicer if you or I could sit at a table across a cup of coffee. But then what do? The situation today, we have to reinvent ourselves. But I don't think we really need to reinvent our values for that, because this is temporary. When I keep thinking of it, there have been COVIDs in everybody's life. Take an artist, something very pleasant. They have a child. They take off for 2 years. That is it's a positive COVID. If you look at it, in the sense, not as in positive now, but then you take off, then you come back again and revisit everything. Then similarly, you may have fractured a leg, a dancer cannot perform and come back into form for say 10 months. So that again, you reinvent yourself slowly. You go through some health problems, then you relook at it. But then I do not think, I am a person who very deeply, deeply believes in, we call it the Guru Shishya Parampara, but I still think where Natyam and Sangeetam are concerned, it's Acharya Shishya Parampara. Because after having come under a spiritual guru, and the guru, Avarda. So, but I needed that guru because when I was at a stage, I'm sharing this because the importance of even connecting with the art at a spiritual level. Is it just because we sing of the gods? No, the experience itself is spiritual because we realize that we are nothing and it's some other power. I cannot move a finger if
Yeah.
I don't get that command. And the experiences happened again and again. And this possibility to come out of your body and view yourself as a third person. All these are spiritual experiences. But then I think, uh, just as I think the acharyas, uh, what disturbs me sometimes is to nowadays, uh, dancers, in dance, let me confine myself to dance because it becomes too wide. They learn from one guru, then they run to another guru, then they go to a third guru, then they go to a fourth guru, and then you see, they what happens is, sometimes they learn one piece from one. Again, let me correct myself, Acharya, another piece from another Acharya. I sometimes am unable to see a comprehensive whole in the performance
Right.
because in their anxiety to repeat exactly what is taught, they lose themselves. What are you? Because whatever your acharya teaches you, you have to make it your own. That
Right.
is the beauty of our great art forms. It is
Yeah.
not as though, okay, in a group, you have to dance, you must be symmetrical. But then I don't think the spirit of each dancer should be sacrificed. The overall skeleton should be there, but the fleshing out has to be different. And if you just keep flitting from person to person, then what happens is, uh, um, through ease in ri- true ease in writing comes from art, not chance. As those who move easiest, who have learned to dance, Alexander Pope. So it comes with, that ease comes when you go deeper and deeper into something. You don't spread yourself out in a thin manner. And so I have always, and maybe I was very blessed because I got the best of tradition with Rajalakshmi teacher, or Rajappa, as she was very popularly known during her heyday. I got beautiful abhinaya from her, beautiful sense of aesthetics from Varurar, and great musicality from him. And I had all these other art forms which were an inspiration to me, and understanding parents, understanding husband. So, and not just understanding, but pepping me on, sort of a thing. So, uh, maybe for me, I could find myself, but I came from the outside to the inside, in the sense all these other disciplines, and then keyed into Bharatanatyam. I just went straight into that, stayed in that. Those those tributaries helped, but I didn't forget the main Ganga. Who doesn't forget her Gangotri or the Sagara she must finally reach? So I think respect for the Acharya is very important. All said and done, we go. to somebody to learn. Why? Because we acknowledge we do not know that. That is why we have gone. So, அவ சொல்லி கொடுக்கறது சொல்லி கொடுக்குறா. பட் அது என்ன அதுக்கு மேல அவாக்கு எவ்வளவோ தெரிஞ்சிருக்கமே. இட்ஸ் நாட் இஸ் தட் குருக்கு மிஞ்சிட்டோம்ட்டு. I don't think. I think the first time you feel that, the moment you feel that, there is that cosmic power hit you on your head. Sit down and understand your position. Understand how little you know, the little done, the undone vast. ஏதோ கொஞ்சம் ரெண்டு தாளத்தை வச்சு இப்படி தட்டிட்டா சிங் சிங் சிங்னா தட்டிட்டா நட்டுவாங்கம்மா. அதுல வழுவரா பண்ணச்சா ஐயோ என்ன மியூசிக்காலிட்டி. அண்ட் நான் ரொம்ப புண்ணியம் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். ஏன்னா அவர் வந்து he was training சாமராஜ master at that time. So I used to be sitting behind one of the 4 pillars in his house, and I used to be listening. And when I listened, he would used to say, பாருப்பா அப்படியே மிருதங்கத்துக்குள்ள நீ போயிடணும், இல்லாட்டா அதை முழுங்கிடணும். அண்ட் அந்த அவர் ஒரு ஜம்மோ ஒரு நம்மோ தடிக்கு டிடிக்கு டிங் டிங்குகு தரித்தக டிங்குதா கிடதகத தெலங்குதக ரொம்ப மியூசிக்கலா இருக்கா. அது ஆடாத ஒரு ஜடத்தை கூட ஆட வச்சிடும் அது மாதிரி. ஸோ இட்ஸ்
இன்னும் கொஞ்சோண்டு சொல்லுங்களேன் அத. ஐயோ என்னமா இருக்கு கேக்குறதுக்கு நிஜமாவே. சொல்லுங்க.
தடிக்கு டிடிக்கு டிங் டிங்குகு தரித்தக டிங்குதா கிடதகத தெலங்குதக டிண்டி குகுதா டிங்குகுதா குகுதா தகுந்தரி கிட்டத்தக்க தடிக்கு டிடிக்கு டிங் டிங்குகு தரித்தக டிங்குதா கிடதக தெலங்குதக தடிக்கு டிடிக்கு டிங்குதா கிடதக டிங்குதா கிடதக தெலங்குதக தக்கு டிங்குதா டிங்குதா தத்தக்கு டிங்குதா டிங்குதா தக்கு டிங்குதா டிங்குதா தத்தக்கு டிங்குதா டிங்குதா தக்கு டிங்கு தத்தக்கு டிங்கு தத்தி தட்டஜம்ங்கிறதுக்கு தான் இருக்கணும். தட்டஜம்ங்கிறதுக்கு தான் இருக்கணும். தட்டஜம்ங்கிறதுக்கு தான் இருக்கணும். This is my Solkattu, which I have composed on the lines of what I feel the great Varurar felt Jatish should be. Romba persa irukadu and musical-ஆ இருக்கணும். He used to insist on musicality. So adhe idu vandu that he something very interesting. I've learned a lot through little statements. தட்டுறவா எப்படி தட்டணும்னா ஆடுறச்ச மறந்தா கூட அவக்கு ஞாபகம் வரணும். Even in the way the symbols were wielded, it was not தட்டுவாங்க. சில பேர் நிறைய பேர் ஐயோ அபாரமான தாளம் அவ்வளவு கச்சிதமா தட்டுறா. I tell you when today I cannot do Nattamangam in click. I send Sukanya to do that because she's here, Sukanya Ravindra. I say நீ வந்து கிளிக்னா என்னால பண்ண முடியாது. ஆனா வந்து அவ வந்து அபாரமா பண்றா nowadays youngsters. And தாளம் லயம்லாம் ரொம்ப பிரமாதமா வச்சு தட்டுவா. பட் அந்த மியூசிக்காலிட்டிங்கிறது டெவலப் பண்ணிட்டாதான் டான்ஸ் becomes music of the body, isn't it?
Beautiful. So beautiful. Music of the body. Yes. So now we run to a rapid fire round, Akka. Because you won't believe it, we've almost done 70 minutes of talking.
Oops, that's long.
That's really long, yes. But I take your permission for another 5 to 10 minutes of this rapid fire round.
Okay. I hope I can answer.
You just have to be a little short, avladha. Kutti answer pannunga. What are you most enchanted by? Because you read, you dance, you sing, you compose, costumes, jewellery, ella unga kitta irukku. But what enchants you most?
At my stage in life now, meditation. It's everything has taken me to that, and the peace I find through that is something I cherish.
What object best represents your personality that you adorn?
The personality I adorn or the object I adorn?
You can tell us both, because the question encompasses both. Iduva
my jumkas.
If you have to say thank you aloud to one person every day, who would it be today?
Mataji Vittamma, my guru.
Wonderful. Do you prefer texting or speaking on the phone or neither?
I'm not much of a, in the sense, I don't pick up the phone and have long chats with people. Uh, I text, but not very long texts. Sometimes, depending upon the situation and who it is, I want to hear the voice. And sometimes I think, let's be to the point, I text. And sometimes I find, because I also like to write, deeper thoughts come out when I write. So depends upon the situation.
நீங்க நம்ப மாட்டீங்க, உங்களுக்கு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டெக்ஸ்ட் பண்றதுக்கு நான் எவ்வளவு பயந்தேன்னு எனக்கு தான் தெரியும். சின்னதா டெக்ஸ்ட் பண்ணணுமா, லாங்கா டீடைல்ல பண்ணணுமா, எப்படி பண்ணா அக்கா எஸ் சொல்லுவா இந்த ப்ரோக்ராம்க்கு அப்படின்னு யோசிச்சு யோசிச்சு கடைசியில கண்டுபிடிச்சிட்டேன் உங்களுக்கு என்ன இருக்கும்.
And I like to use emojis because, they're so expressive. Sometimes I won't write anything. I just send emojis.
When you look at a new person, what is the first thing that you notice about the person?
I look at the aura in the sense of the personality. I look at the personality of the person. I next will look at what they are wearing because of my interest in weaves and the crafts, what they are wearing. It needn't be expensive or something like that, but is it artistic? And the personality of the person. Does the person have confidence? Does that person have elegance? And has that, and ahatin arahu mohatil theriyum. So what is there on the face? Does it have that extra light? This is something I always search for.
Suppose you've had a bad day. I mean, when I say bad, it means like it's not your expectation point. So how do you make yourself feel better at the end of the day?
I actually go and sit with my brother, my differently abled brother, because he exudes so much calm, and he used to be so violent. He's become such a calm person, and I think that Shuddhatma reaches out to me, and I just sit with him, and we sometimes just sit in silence, and that gives me a lot of peace. Earlier on, I'd listen to a lot of music. I'd try and see, okay, when the padicha, when they let me read this. All this was me a few years ago. But now I sit with him. I want that peace and calm. And he gives it to me.
Wonderful to hear that, Akka. உங்க வீட்ல உங்களுக்கு வந்து ஃபேவரட் திங்கிங் ஸ்பாட்னு ஏதாவது ஒரு இடம் வச்சிருக்கீங்களா?
இல்ல, எல்லாத்தையும் அழகா பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கேன், so that எங்க உட்கார்ந்தாலும் அழகா இருக்கும், and I'll be inspired.
ரொம்ப சாமர்த்தியமான ஒரு ஆன்சர் அது. நீங்க வந்து பூஜை ரூம்னு சொல்வேலா, இல்ல விஸ்வேஷ் யூஸ் பண்ண ரூம் ரொம்ப filled with music, நிறைய கம்போஸ் பண்ண அப்படிலாம் நான் நினைச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன்.
இல்ல, எங்க வேணா, even in the kitchen I will enjoy myself, because that's how I have kept it. And
so after this COVID situation gets to a kind of a normalcy, I called you and said, I'm going to give you a ticket for vacation. Which place would you choose?
Our ashramam at Sri Pottai, Tirunelveli. You'll have to give me a ticket to Thoothukudi. I'm just waiting for the band to...
And then get your car from Thoothukudi to Tirunelveli.
Yes. You need not give me the car. You give me the flight ticket to Thoothukudi. I will be proud.
It's done. I'm saying it openly.
Thank you. Just pray that it opens up, and all these people who are suffering, because prayer is very essential, and we all know it. We can pray in our own different ways. Some pray through music, some through dance, some through mantras, some through their work. But amma எப்பவுமே சொல்லுவார், வந்து வேலையை பூஜையா பண்ணலாம், பூஜையை காரியமா பண்ணக்கூடாதுன்ட்டு. அது மாதிரி வேலையா பண்ணக்கூடாது. So everything can become a puja, and we pray for Lokakshema. We pray that this everybody comes out of this, not only physically but also, I think, psychologically it's affecting people. I think it's very important that we அந்த நங்கூரத்தை விடக்கூடாது. நங்கூரத்தை விடாம we have to come out of it, and we must be able to touch each other again, to not just send a virtual namaste but actually do a namaste. I should be able to come and sit at your performance and hear you sing, and I must be able to go and be part of the ambience at the ashram. Uh, I think everybody have their little desires. I want to be able to see my students again. I want to be able to dialogue with them, and want to be able to see my guru soon again.
This is the best positive note that I can end this. மனசு இல்லதான், all good things have to come to an end ன்னு சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா? மனசு இல்லை உங்களை விட்டு போறதுக்கு. ஆனாலும் I have really taken up a lot of your time. என்னோட அன்பை தான் உங்களுக்கு வந்து நான் காணிக்கையா கொடுக்க முடியும்.
அதுதான் most beautiful காணிக்கை. Thank you so much, and I return that love.
Thank you, Akka. How fortunate I am. And do remember about this ticket that...
Yes, I will. I won't forget.
Bye. Wow. Wasn't that amazing? What a beautiful word play expressing the intricacies of music and dance. So well intertwined, so well meshed and packaged. நம்ம எல்லாருக்கும் ஏதோ ஒரு விஷயத்தை வந்து இன்னைக்கு நம்ம படுக்கைக்கு போகும்போது எடுத்துட்டு போறதுக்கு, மனசுல வச்சுக்கிறதுக்கு, செரிஷ் பண்றதுக்கு. I think Chitraka shared such wonderful moments and wonderful values. As she said, let us all pray together to get back those happy moments when we can touch each other, when we can just scream and be with our friends, when we can go into an auditorium and listen to a wonderful recital or watch a Natya production. அவ சொன்ன மாதிரி எல்லாருக்குமே இது நடக்காதா அது நடக்காதா அப்படின்னு மனசுல நிறைய ஏக்கம் இருக்கு. So let's all unite ourselves, our thoughts with our prayers and positive energies. We are all blessed to learn more and more from personalities like Chitraka. May this treasure, may these treasures, the treasure of a collage of all these personalities, continue to give glory to our land. And let us all pray for their good health and energies. Goodbye to all of you, and thank you once again for being with us. Keep the feedback flowing, and you all know that that is the secret success of Expressions Espresso. And all of you, my dear audience, let us continue meanwhile to SMS. Use the sanitizer, the mask, and social distancing. So easy to remember it as SMS. Until such time that our health experts guide us to be minimal. Take care and stay safe. See you all next week. Bye.